Hey guys, I'm really struggling here. I'm really struggling to be upbeat and have a smile because Spurs are not in a great place right now, and they haven't been in a great place for a while. It's part of the reason that I'm wearing this gray sweatshirt and not a Tottenham kit. I feel bleak. I feel gray about Tottenham, and frankly, that's part of the reason that I've been putting off making this video because it's not fun to examine the team that you enjoy watching, or you might enjoy watching on a good day, and examine all of their weaknesses and why they suck and why nothing is working. Really, really not fun. But I think it is important to call out what's happening and things that content might be able to do to fix it. So that's it. That's all I got. I mean, I do have 10 or 15 more minutes more of just complaining about Tottenham. So if you came for that, you're at the right place. If you're looking for something that will help you feel better about your life, this might not help, frankly. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So Spurs have had a really, really tough couple of weeks, not just getting beaten by Chelsea 3 or 4 times in a month. I can't even remember the right amount. They just kicked our butts throughout that month. Um, and now, most recently, two huge losses against Southampton and Wolves. Bad losses, too. Really, really bad losses that should A, never have happened, but B, really exposed that Spurs are not as far along as most fans thought they would be with Conte at the helm. What's most important to know, I think, is that it's a combination of a system that is clearly, very, very clearly not working. And that is probably the most frustrating thing because I am an amateur YouTuber. I know very, very little about this sport. And yet, most fans, I feel like most fans can see that the system that Conte has right now is not working. And then on the other hand, you have the individual mistakes that are just coming up every freaking 10 minutes from random players and players that are known for mistakes, and then players who are not known for mistakes are making those as well. So it's just the perfect storm and the perfect culmination of a horrible, horrible 2 weeks, 3 weeks at for Spurs, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So what's that system look like, and then how do those individual errors not just occur because of that system, but are being perpetuated due to that system? Because players that make mistakes are being put in positions to make more mistakes. It's absolutely ridiculous to me. So yeah. Let's get another screenshot. So if you've been following Tottenham this season, you probably know that Antonio Conte has been switching up his formations, typically moving from a 3-4-3 to a sometimes a 5-3-2, namely against Liverpool. But recently, he's developed this 5-3-2 system in the defensive phase. So as you can see here, Southampton have possession, a sustained possession, and they have moved the ball from their right side of the pitch to the left side. So you see Son and Kane further up the pitch, but as the ball moves to the other side, the ball near forward, the ball near winger, Lucas, is about to push up, right? About to push up and either cut off a passing lane or pressure, whereas Son, as we see here, is going to slot in with Højbjerg, Winks, whatever that midfield duo might be. That midfield duo is the key problem. It's killing us. It's absolutely killing us because it's creating a ton of distance. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I can't help but call this out right now. Relying on your wingers to form a middle three that's defensive and knows exactly when to press and knows exactly when to mark runners is just insane. It's absolutely insane to me, and that's something that we're going to cover shortly. And again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that just tells you how frustrating this is to watch. So let's just put it in very clear terms why I think Conte is playing that midfield two that transforms into a midfield three with the ball far winger slotting in that midfield three. I think it's because he thinks it gives Tottenham flexibility and gives him the best of a midfield three, which is men in a defensive place, and are able to maintain equal numbers with an attacking midfield three, which is exactly what we saw against Southampton and Wolves. So that's one thing. And I think the other thing, it also allows Tottenham theoretically to explode on the counter, again, with Son, Kane, and Lucas, right? And all on the pitch at the same time. Again, theoretically. What we're seeing, though, is no defensive solidity from the midfield. So that's one thing. Even though Lucas and Son are trying their best, no defensive solidity there. And I think that's proven by the expected goals against that we've had against Southampton and Wolves. But also, perhaps more worryingly, with those two amazing attackers, one really good attacker on the pitch, no attacking impetus. Really, really bad attacking play those last two matches. So something has to give here, right? And what I'm going to walk through right now is why that midfield three doesn't work. It just simply does not work. So here we see how Tottenham's midfield setup just doesn't work, especially when it's combined with poor, very, very poor pressing. You see Højbjerg and Winks try to step up, cut off passing lanes, Winks especially trying to pressure the ball carrier, Romeo, in this particular example. But we also see three different players from Southampton roaming around in the half spaces, roaming around in between the lines, between Tottenham's defense and Tottenham's midfield. Horrible, horrible setup here, simply because this is how you create attacking quote-unquote counterattacks while in possession. You pass the ball to the free player in between the lines so that they can pick up the ball in space and time, turn, and then charge at the defense or play an incisive pass. Whatever it may be, that defense is now on the back foot and running back towards their own goal. We see Lucas's positioning here. This is, again, part of the system. It's not that he's positioned badly. It's just that due to a quick transition from Southampton, he's not in the right place to try to cover his man. Here we see another example of Tottenham's press. And in this example, Wolves moving the ball from one flank to the other very, very quickly. So now Lucas Moura is pushing up to try to block a passing lane. Harry Winks is trying to cover Ruben Neves along with Harry Kane, and Bentancur is stepping up as well. You might notice, though, that there is one clear midfield player from Wolves who is completely open. So I do think that in this example, Lucas could be doing a lot more here to close that passing lane. His positioning is very poor. The question here really is, why is this man free? Why is Kundl here free? And you'll see that the three midfield players are marked for Wolves. So then Donker further upfield, Ruben Neves, who acts as that pivot to progress the ball, and then of course Kundl. So surely Matt Doherty, the right wing back, should be covering him, right? Well, he actually can't because he's doing his job. He is covering the left wing back from Wolves, of course, Nuri. So this system is completely messed up because all Tottenham's pressing is worthless. It is so incredibly easy to find the spare man who can progress the ball. Of course, Kundl is found, and what does this necessitate? Well, Doherty can't step off of Nuri, right? Someone has to come out, and who is it? Davinson Sanchez. What is this system? This makes absolutely no sense. How is the right-sided center back coming out to pressure Kundl in this situation, trying to make up that much space? This just seems absolutely, number one, absolutely ridiculous to me. Number two, you can also see the space that it opens up, not just between defenders clearly defined by that white line, but also up top, creating a 2v2. It boggles the mind. It makes absolutely no sense as to how a Tottenham staff member, coach, whatever, can see this and say, yes, this is good. This is all going according to plan. Not to mention that this is Davinson Sanchez, who has been absolutely terrible for Tottenham for the last month, number one. Number two, completely devoid of confidence. So you're asking this man who has zero confidence, has confidence through the floor, to have this sort of role that he's never had before. He's aggressive, but not suicidally aggressive. This is just absolutely ridiculous. I know it's going to be super, super easy for people to see this and want me to just get into individual mistakes, especially when we talk about Davinson Sanchez. But I'm going to hold off. I'm going to talk about the individual mistakes later on in the video. Let's keep focusing on these systemic things that very clearly are happening because someone at Tottenham is telling these players to do these things. This is not Davinson Sanchez going absolutely mental, losing his mind and choosing to do whatever he wants. Throughout these matches, we see him come up and try to be that third midfielder and pressure or cover when that gap is open. Okay, guys, so here we see that midfield three once again with Son, the ball far winger slotting in to make that three. They're blocking central passing lanes, right? Lucas Moura is pressuring the ball as he should, but Davinson Sanchez is stepping up as well to cover the man in the half space. This is dangerous. Why is this dangerous? Because it relies on Sanchez and the closest midfielder, in this case Harry Winks, to have almost telepathic communication on who is supposed to mark that man. And this is an example of it when it goes wrong. Sanchez sees Adams make a run and he knows that he has to try to cover him and try to help Romero out. However, Winks is unaware of this, and this creates an open man in the half space. Very, very open to receive a pass, and with the time and space, if collected, to be able to put in a dangerous ball. Lo and behold, he collects the ball. Winks is too far away and is playing catch up. And this clip, he actually throws his fist out in frustration at Davinson Sanchez. Watch the replays here. The reason for that is because Sanchez dropped deep to cover that runner. Not a horrible thing to do, right? But again, the system is not set up for these players to be successful. The Southampton player can pick a pass here, and again, going back to my earlier point, this is a counter-attacking opportunity even though Southampton were in possession. A lot of pictures have been making the rounds of the half space and how many goals Spurs have conceded from balls that come in from the half space, whether it be on the left side or on the right side. This is a huge, huge example of why the system does not work. So now, guys, we come to the crux of the issue, and I think a lot of people are mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. But if you're hoping that Eric Dyer comes back and is magically able to fix these issues, you are dead, dead wrong. Eric Dyer won't come back and just head away every single ball. We all know that he actually has a mistake in him, right? So that's for one thing. The other one is we all thought that our defensive issues would be pretty much solved with Romero coming back. They've gotten worse. And that has nothing to do with Romero. I'm not saying that they are linked, but I am saying that it's almost irrelevant who plays in that defensive line because it is so, so, so clear that the system is, instead of showing off our strengths, exposing each individual player's weaknesses. That is why Davinson Sanchez looks like a headless chicken again. His form has completely fallen off the face of the earth. Probably some of the worst form that he's had at this club, which is frankly saying a lot given the mistakes that he's had in the past. Ben Davies, absolutely the same. Hugo Lloris, someone who has been a stalwart of that defense for the vast majority of his Tottenham career, is making his mistakes as well. So something is going wrong here where players are not confident in either their ability or the team's ability to be able to see out a clean sheet or anything like that. So I would stress that this is, of course, on individual players. I don't mean to string you along. Yes, I will get to that, but I think it's a much larger part of it is the system. And that's why these issues keep cropping up over and over and over and over again across the last 3 or 4 matches. So fair warning, the rest of this video, apart from like my short individual analysis, is going to be basically me driving home this point. Basically me saying this press system doesn't work, this rinky dink come play as you go kind of midfield three does not work. And here's another reason why. Everyone's pressing here. I think that's pretty obvious to see. Harry Winks is pressing probably the most, rushing out of his position to try to press Romeo, and Lucas Moura is trying to cover the easy ball out. However, the defensive line does not step up alongside its midfielders, or behind the midfielders, better said, and Romeo is able to find an easy ball out. What this means is that in transition, Southampton are attacking, and there's one midfield player, Højbjerg, who is able to keep up with the run of play because, well, due to his positioning here. So what does this mean for when they are able to progress the ball down the pitch? Well, Harry Winks is horribly out of position because, again, he was pressing. Højbjerg is trying to cover the low cutback, but Broha is able to get in. I'm sorry, that's not Broha, but the Southampton player is able to loft the pass in to Armstrong, who heads it towards goal, forcing a save out of Lloris. Okay, I know that this is a lot. I feel overwhelmed as well. I think it's important to reel it in and just focus on this midfield three problem. I know that we've talked about pressing and how that affects the midfield. Okay, let's actually talk about how Tottenham's midfield is defending and the gaps that open up when a winger, the ball far winger, is not covering the right space. We're back with Wolves, and we have Tottenham's 2 midfield, not 3 in this case, 2 midfield players, Winks and Bentancur, highlighted. And this is a really cool screenshot, actually, because Wolves are doing something here that is, oh my God, it's just revolutionary. They're asking one of their center backs to progress the ball into space. Oh my God, who would have thunk? This is absolutely new to the sport. They invented this move during this match, clearly because Spurs are completely frozen. They don't know what to do with this ball carrier coming out of nowhere. The 2 center mids are attracted towards the ball carrier, trying to cut off passing lanes to their short options, but due to the lack of a third midfielder, an actual third midfielder, there is a completely open Kundal and Nuri on the opposite flank in dangerous areas to progress the ball. This is absolutely insane. How does, number one, Lucas, who is being tasked to fill this role, how does he not read the danger? Number two, how does Conte not see this happen once during the match and say, we need someone who can position themselves as a midfield third all the time. We just need someone to stand there. That's all we need. We need someone to be part of that midfield 3, not be part of the front 3 and then come back to help out the middle 2. Just be part of that midfield 3. This happens over and over where there is a ball progression down one flank, attracting 2 of the midfield players, and the ball near winger, of course. The ball near winger doesn't do well defensively, and this completely opens up the other flank. Why? Because the ball far winger is up with Kane, trying to support in a possible counterattack situation. And that's not even the worst of it, because that is relatively far away from the Tottenham goal, so not nearly as dangerous as this situation. Here we see Højbjerg being pulled into the scrap because Davinson Sanchez and Emerson do not do well defensively and are unable to get a tackle in on a Southampton player. Lucas Moura, he's on the top left side there. He's been played past. He's out of the game in this particular instance. This is what happens when you rely on wingers to be extremely defensive. These lapses occur. So since Højbjerg has been pulled out of position, since Lucas Moura is doing nothing to get back, Southampton are able to find James Ward-Prowse in space at top of the 18. Not a dangerous situation at all, right? No, none whatsoever. Winks is forced to sprint pretty much the equivalent of a American football field in order to try to pressure him as quickly as possible. Again, we are asking two midfielders to do the work of three. So, guys, frankly, like I've spent a lot of time watching these matches. I've spent a lot of time recording this. I'm getting pretty frustrated. I don't want to continue this video. This is not fun. I don't want to see Tottenham play like this. It's really, really disappointing. My question, if I could get just if I could just be a fly on the wall on these coaching sessions and just see what's going on and just like the thinking behind that midfield too, because it makes zero sense to me. And I am not the smartest man in the world. I'm nowhere close, nowhere close. So all that to say, like, if I see it, surely these professional coaches, player development staff, whatever, surely they see it too. That has to be the case, right? That has to be the case. So I guess one last note, and this is not going to end in a positive note. If you think that Højbjerg or Eric Dyer coming in improves this, I genuinely think you're wrong. Genuinely think you're wrong. I think that they will be as exposed as these other players have been so far. What is needed is a system change. So, what system, right? I can't just moan about this the entire time. What system? Our best match under Conte was against Liverpool, where we played a midfield three. Granted, Ndombele played during that. Dele Alli played during that. Okay, those players are gone. We can't rely on them anymore. But number one, were we ever actually relying on them? And also, number two, did we not just bring in two, basically two midfielders, Bentancur, who can play in that Højbjerg role, can also honestly play in that wings role. He's very, very versatile. And also Kulusevski, who can play as almost like a 10. Why are we not playing these guys as a midfield three? Regardless of moving the ball, I honestly, like, I don't care if the next two matches we have a zero 0.5 expected goal. I just don't care. But can we try to at least gain some stability in the back? When your defensive line is not up to par, which clearly it is not. Clearly. And we saw that very, very obviously with these players over the last couple of weeks. You have to shield them. You have to shield them. And Højbjerg, Winks, and one of Lucas Moura and Son is not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it in that makeshift midfield three. So I know I said that I was going to talk about individual players. Frankly, I don't want to. I'm done. I'm going to shut off this camera in the next 30 seconds. I think we've all seen how individual players have struggled, so I don't want to pile on to any individual player. But I will say that there are certain individual players that I've kind of had it up to here with, and I think should be moved on next summer. I'll keep that to myself for now. What do you think? Is this system? Am I completely misreading this? Is this system actually working? Is it all about the individual players? Keen to hear what you think. Otherwise, man, hopefully the next couple of matches improve against Manchester City. Guess we'll have to find out. Thanks for checking out the video, guys.